his wife when they all get to heaven. Jesus doesn't fall into the trap. Jesus looks to something that is much bigger than the kind of story that they're looking at. And he's appealing to the God of the living. He is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, when Jesus was speaking, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had been dead for many centuries. And yet, he says, he is the God of the living, for all of them are alive to him. So at this time of year, when we think about the dead and our prayers for the dead, we are presented here with the fact that it is God who is the living one, and we who live are the ones who are there to worship and give thanks to God, which is why we come together like this at this Eucharistic celebration. The God of the living, those who are alive, the present tense. So really, he's talking first of all about all of us who are alive and who worship the living God. Pope Francis has pointed that out when he looks at the needs of the church and the world. Take the church, for example, to begin with. There are places in the world, in South America, in the whole Amazon basin, for example, not far from where Pope Francis comes from, where there is a very, very empty situation for the church. There are not enough priests to go around. A priest may come to a remote village once a year. So Pope Francis is saying to us, the living, why not have married men become priests so that they can go out into these remote areas and provide the people with the sacraments and all that they need to have as members of this faith community. That's not unknown. It is already happening in the church. In our diocese, we have an Episcopal priest who became a Catholic, had a wife and children. Well, of course, he brought them along with him. He didn't reject his wife and children. So that already exists. But the whole idea of extending the priesthood to married people gets some people very nervous, gets them worried, Why? Because there's a kind of a bunker mentality that exists in some areas of the church. Get behind these concrete walls. Don't let anybody else in. Stick with the stuff we know that we've been doing for centuries. The Pope is saying no. We need to get out from behind those walls and welcome others who may be of help to us. Married men, women who may be ordained deacons, that's also been mentioned. The place of women in the church, the Pope is very aware of that. He has a lot of enemies who don't want to follow his suggestions about that. But he will, we hope, for years to come. We don't know how many more he's got. He's in his 80s now. But he's been ordaining bishops who look at things the way he does. And he's making his voice heard. There are people who are leaving the church all the time. It's still happening. And for very good reasons for them. They can't put up with the situation that they find now. But the Pope is saying, well, we honor people's consciences, but we'd like to keep our community together and make it grow. Not only the church, that's one society. The world that we live in, the physical world that we live in, is in very grave danger. We all know that. We have experience of it here in California. The fires that we've been experiencing for the past 2 years, the result of global warming, scientifically proved. Some people don't believe it. I wonder if their house goes on fire, they'll believe it. I wonder if floods, such as the floods in Houston this past year, a great big American city, flooded because we're not taking care of the world that God gave us. The Pope wrote this wonderful letter, Laudatio Si, words of St. Francis, his patron saint, praising God for the glories of nature, the glories of the world. Nature doesn't mean all those other things out there like trees and rivers and mountains. Nature is us. We're not separate from nature, we're part of it. We are nature. And we have been given the task by God to take care of the rest of nature, to do all we can to make it flourish. Sadly, that's not happening to the degree that's needed. But it is the living God who gives us these words to inspire us to do what we need to do, to make our society as a church more healthy, safer, to make the world that we live in a place that we can hand on to our children and grandchildren. 20, 50 years from now, who knows how much of this planet will be habitable? There's a good chance that much of it will not be. We are responsible for this world. God says in the first pages of the Bible, take this world that I have given you and cherish it and make it grow, make it profitable for yourself and for everything that exists in it. Who says that? It's the living God who says that to us, his living people. So as we think of the dead in this month of November, remember that we do it because we, the living, are able to give them our thoughts and our hearts. We who live, we praise the Lord. And we come together in this Eucharistic celebration today to do just that, to give thanks to God for all that he has given us and to make it grow, make it flourish, and make it a gift that God wills for us, his living people, for all the living people who we hope will come after us.